show. I'm Heidi, and we're here to explore metaphysical and holistic concepts. And we have a rabbi here for Passover, and we're showing this on Easter, so it's a double holiday. But before we get to Gershon, I wanted to talk about the astrology for the week. And as you know, the sun is in Taurus, and the moon just went into Capricorn, so we're in a slower, more contemplative period than we were just a couple weeks ago when all those planets were in Aries and we were so active outside. We'll still want to be outside, we'll want to be very creative, but Taurus actually helps us sit and able to finish our creations, where Aries is the start energy. And the Capricorn will give us a certain amount of seriousness about what we're doing and also a certain responsibility. And it's a good time to get ready for that May alignment that I keep talking about, where we start thinking about our responsibility for the earth. And not just that, our responsibility to ourselves. We are the original resource. It starts with us. And learning how to take care of ourselves naturally emanates out into how to care for the planet. And I also wanted to talk about Venus aspecting Uranus. Venus is the planet of appreciation, love, and beauty, and Uranus is the planet of rebellion and revolution and new, far-out ideas. So one of the ways you could combine these energies to make it work for you is go to a bookstore, go to the library, look up some books that help describe what we're doing here on the planet and help give you a better idea or feel about what it's all about. What is the larger picture of why we're on the planet and who planned this and how are we co-creators with it. So it's a bit of a challenging week, but we're all up for it, and I hope you enjoy it and learn a lot. And I know I'm going to learn a lot right now with Gershon Winkler, a rabbi from New Mexico. We're so pleased to have him here, and I'll give you his phone number right now, and then I'll give you all of his other information at the end of the program. So his phone number in New Mexico, 505-289-3344. 505-289-3344. And thank you very much for being here, Gershon.
Nice to be here.
You're really doing a lot this week, and I'm really happy that you could make it to be here with us.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
How often do you come up here?
I come up here on the average every other month or so, and for the major festivals, the major holidays.
Oh, great.
About 8 times a year, 7 times a year. I don't know. I really don't count.
Oh, but that's pretty frequent.
I probably should start counting and figure out.
So we'll start to see you more frequently. That's great.
Yeah.
And this may seem sort of odd, but I actually wanted to ask you a bit about kids.
Mm-hmm.
And just the light that's inside of them. Some people talk about kids as if, they're pure potential and they're pure, and then as they get older, somehow the purity goes away. And I was wondering what your perspective is on that.
Well, there is a teaching in the Talmud, the ancient teachings of our people, that when our first temple fell 2,500 years ago, prophecy was taken from the prophets and given to the babes. And so that's there is a lot of light in them because they just got here. And there are a lot of teachings in the tradition about what happens in the womb before they get here. And in the womb world, they are being enlightened by a spirit. Okay. The spirit's name is Leilit, which means night, the night spirit. The night spirit teaches them everything and also shows them from one end of the universe to the other. All the other lives, all the other planets, all the other universes.
Wow.
And teaches it everything in the world. And then, see a little thing we have, well, I don't have one, very high man. Everybody else has like a little indentation here. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So at the end, when it's ready for birth time to come into this world, the spirit touches us here, and we forget everything. Everything gets sublimated into us, so that the moment we come out, we still have the wisdom, and that's why we can't talk. That's very frustrating. The baby sees what people are doing. Trying to, doesn't have the language yet, still has the message. And as the child is learning language and being distracted by the acculturation a family, a society, religion, everything gets more and more subdued, sublimated within it. So we carry with us all the time everything we're looking for, all the knowledge we're looking for. It's just a matter of finding the right fertilizer to bring it out, the right circumstances, situations, experiences, paying attention.
Does this mean farmers have an edge?
Yeah, probably do, you're right. They're working with that mystery, although many farmers are not aware of the treasure that they have in their hands when they're digging. Mm-hmm. When we're out gardening in our garden, we should pay attention to the magic of what we're holding in our hands. This soot, this dirt, this lifeless stuff that really has within it the potential for and the mystery of life. Mm-hmm. All you do is add water and stir. That's the motto in America. We should only learn to apply that, to our daily living, to always add water and stir. So yeah, children do come into the world with a lot of light, a lot of what we call the primordial light. The original light of creation comes in with every creature that is being birthed. Every little leaf that's coming out in budding time, like right now in springtime, is filled with that light. And that's why in the Kabbalistic tradition there are teachings about how herbs are at their greatest power during this season, during this moon and the next moon, the moon of Nisan and the moon of Iyar, which follows, because they're just coming out and they still contain within them the most concentrated levels of the divine primordial light.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. Through the tarot cards, somebody said that card represented a cocooning stage, but just coming out of the seed. And I was like, that's an amazing growth thing, because seeds can be in the earth for a million years, and then suddenly something interacts with it, and it sprouts, and that's just an amazing becoming.
It is. It's it's about adding water and stirring. It's like in the Zohar, one of our old mystical texts, it says that when there's a drought, when there's no rain in a place, it's because what is happening below is not arousing the above. The earth needs to arouse the sky. The earth is feminine, the sky is masculine. And, men go into comas, male comas. What are you thinking about, honey? Oh, nothing. We go into comas. So sometimes the sky isn't just coma and requires the earth to awaken it. And we learned this from the second chapter of the book of Genesis, where it says, Ve'ed ya'aleh min ha'aretz, which means, and a mist arose from the earth, aroused the sky, and then the rain fell. And then from that came all the stuff. The children come out of the earth. See? And so likewise, it's a relationship. It's not just new life coming in with new doses of divine light. It also takes us here in our actions, in our living, everyday living, to maintain the arousal of the above, of the spirit from the earth, in order to help to coach forth the birth of primordial light in the world, like Lamaze,
Add water, stir, and blow.
Add water, stir, and blow. Exactly.
We're giving people good tools here.
Good tools for healing the planet.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you brought up the male-female interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And could you talk about that? Often we pick mates to help us figure out the male-female interaction, and some people go solo, and it really is all within.
Yes.
I mean, I got a good teaching from somebody once, a healer in Missoula, and she said, next time you get angry at your husband, look to see what he's doing that you're angry at in yourself. And it was a really great tool.
Yeah.
I've used it a lot, and it's almost always right on. And when it's not, I'm probably just not seeing it.
Yeah, in the Kabbalah, this is called partsuf. Partsuf is Aramaic for mirroring. You know, every individual mirrors every individual. And we're drawn to people who we feel in the moment can help us to bring to the surface something about ourselves that is so hidden, that's so inaccessible. So we see that part in them, in the mirror, and by that we say, oh, okay, I got to be with this guy or this woman because I see that part that I've had trouble accessing being mirrored in them, and perhaps by being with them it can be brought out. We don't really talk this out, but it's there. And the other piece about male and female within each of us is there's an old teaching by Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, who lived in the 1st century, that the first human being in our creation story was neither female nor male, but was both, a hermaphrodite. And in the Hebrew it doesn't say, and God spoke to Adam. It says, and God spoke to the Adam. It says, ha-Adam, the Adam. And then it says in chapter 5 that male and female did God create them and called their name Adam. So the primordial Adam in the story is not a man. It's a being that has man and woman in one body. And then when they're later split into two, one becomes man and becomes woman, because they had one time been one, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish taught, they therefore retain within them each one of the other's gender. So the man is always walking around with a piece of his feminine side that was once a part of him, and the woman in turn always walks around with a piece of the man inside of her. And yeah, that's a very good counsel.
Yeah.
You know.
It's been very helpful. And it seems on the planet, and I've heard this from a lot of different directions, that the feminine is, suppressed, and again, that would be within each of us. Does the Jewish tradition have anything about healing that, so that we can be more in balance?
Well, see, in the ancient Jewish tradition, excuse me, this is the reason why there were rituals and ceremonies that men did, women could do, but she was not required to do. Okay. And then there were rituals and ceremonies that women did. And now in our age, we try to make everything together, because everybody wants to be the same. So in that process, we've lost, and a lot of traditions have lost in turn, that sense of each one nurturing what is themselves, what is woman. Because we have to be like everybody else. I want to do whatever women does. A woman wants to do whatever man does. And so what is uniquely and distinctly woman gets diluted. What's unique and distinctly man gets diluted. In the Talmud it says that nashim v'anashim shtei amim, and which means women and men are two different nations. And therefore, the dressing men, because they assume women had the wisdom, dressing men, they said, when you are with a woman, you really need to relate to her as if she was a whole different culture. So you wouldn't just dive in with your expectations and assumptions and your ways. You would try to learn to understand what is their language, what is their custom. Do they burp after they eat? Whatever it might be. What is important to the soul survival of woman, the Talmud says, may in the eyes of a man be trivial. And therefore it's said about husbands and wives, it said a man should love his wife as himself, but he needs to honor her beyond himself, meaning that he has to step outside of his picture of what is important and what is not to honor what is in her mind important. Otherwise he can never fulfill his responsibilities to his wife, or it says to his daughter and her daughter-in-law and all that.
That's a big responsibility.
It is a very big responsibility. It's about othering in relationship as opposed to smothering. If we enter a relationship with the with an already preconceived picture of the relationship without really discussing it, then the partner becomes not an other, but becomes a figment of your imagination. You know, and we learned the trick to really good relationship is to be found in the Kabbalah, where it uses the term tzimtzum, which means stepping back, not to the point where there's no you, but stepping back just enough so that your partner has room to come forward. And that's how they describe creation happening, that in the beginning there was nothing but God.
Okay.
So if there's nothing but God, then where does God create? There is no space, it's all God. So God constricted itself, tzimtzum, pulled back itself in order for thereby by default a teheru was created. Teheru means cleared space.
Okay.
And within that cleared space, the divine light then came in, and the universe came into being, or universes. We believe there are many universes. So we're existing in the Teheru. We're existing by the grace of the Creator stepping back for us to come forward. And the Kabbalah says that the Creator kept stepping back, and the more the Creator stepped back, the more creation unfolded. So every step back, another grass, another animal, and so on and so forth. And that's why we live in a world where, I believe in God, I would die for that belief. I doubt. There couldn't be a God. I don't think there is a God. I believe in God, there is no God. I believe in God, there is no God. That's what we do throughout our life. We watch CNN, see the tragedy, that there is no God. We see the Grand Canyon or a baby coming out of the womb, we say, there's a God. And we have that freedom, that's the free will to choose, happens because God steps back just enough, but is present just enough, so that we could unfold without being squashed.
And, well, I have to say, part of that example reminds me of labor contractions. It's kind of interesting. You could switch that for the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Labor contraction theory. But I also want to ask about the news and people on the news. What kind of a mirror is that for us?
It's a mirror of the Sitra Achra.
Okay.
You're talking about the bad news on TV?
Yeah, the bad news.
Okay. Yeah, that's a mirror of the Sitra Achra. Sitra Achra is Aramaic for, literally means the other side. Okay. And the word Achra also means after and before, simultaneously. Oh. In other words, this is the part of the same divine light that is about good and about loving kindness. The other side of it, of every good, is an evil. Everyone has a little bit of it. It's just a matter of whether you choose at the crossroads of choice making and action to go this way or that way. It's sort of like one chocolate is good. A box of chocolates is evil. So it's all chocolates. Like Hitler was into purity. Purity is good. It's a good concept to strive for purity in one's life. Racial purity is evil. Right. See? So in every evil, you can find, if you look carefully without just brushing it off as, yuck, look into it, you can find the spark of the divine that gives it power, just because everything has divine in it. So it doesn't justify it, but it's there. It's just the other side of the same coin. Mm-hmm. And the reason why the word achra is used, which means other, and it also means after and before, is because the ancient mystics believed that the divine light is what is responsible for those bad things. As well. Because there is a part of the spirit, of the Creator Spirit, that's stepping back and wants you to unfold, and there's another part of God that wants to make everything one. Wow. So the light that comes into the world is comprised, the presence of the divine in the physical universe is comprised of these two push and pull feelings so to speak, or responses, or desires, which is I created you so that you can develop as yourself, so we can have a relationship, not as a puppet with the puppet maker, but as actual others. At the same time, and as parents, you're a parent, I'm a parent. It's apparent that we're parents. We go through this a lot. As the child unfolds, we're learning that we need to pull back a little bit, yet be present. Yeah. So there's a sense of wanting to swallow the kid up, make sure they put that down. Oh, you might get hurt. Oh, wait, don't go there, don't go there, don't go here. Right, the swallowing, and there's no child. And then there's a sense of holding back. Every time I take a hike with my 5-year-old, which I do almost every day, we go up to the cliff on our land, up to the cliff, because she likes to go up to the cliff. Of course, she has to go there to give her father heart palpitations. Dad, let's go up to the cliffs. Oh, can't we just play down here? No, I want to climb the rocks. So we go up there, and I'm walking behind her. My overwhelming desire is to hold on to her the whole time, so she wouldn't fall off that cliff. Hold on to her dress, something, her coat, her hair, anything. And the other part of me wants her to unfold. Wants her to discover her own power.
Right.
And I know that if I try to swallow her, she will never find her power. The more I step back and go through the tension of, the more she will find her own power, not be afraid of heights, not be afraid of the edge in life, and so on and so forth. So the same thing, the divine light seeks to give us the space and yet wants to swallow us. So sometimes it manifests, that desire to swallow us manifests in genocide, in people killing each other. It's like a mistranslation of that sense of the divine light. Or nature coming, as we call it nature, a big wave comes and wipes out a city. It's like it comes from the Sitra Achra, that part that is in front of us and behind us, and wants to swallow us and make us one with the Godhead. So how that happens is mistranslated by people's choices or by how the earth responds.
And this seems like a not an easy thing to balance. Your desires. I mean, there's a lot in our culture that says if you have the desire, go for it. So if you have the desire to hold on to your child at the cliff, go for it. But then there's the wisdom of knowing what will develop her potential and how to help her fulfill it as best she can.
That's right.
Are there Jewish teachings about how you get to that balance point of wisdom to desire?
Yeah, there are a lot of teachings about that. There's a lot of emphasis on walking the balance road. It's called Derech HaBeinuni, which means the middle road. And Maimonides, who lived in the 12th century, talks a lot about it in his work. And it's also discussed in the Talmud about how to, when you feel yourself being tugged to one extreme or the other, that's when you need to center yourself. That's when you need to come back home. One of the teachings, for example, is when you're disciplining your child, it is important to distance them with your weak hand while at the same time drawing them near with your right hand. In other words, the distancing is your disapproval. So the child feels distance from the parent because they disapprove, they're angry, they make a face, they yell, whatever it might be. And but therefore the importance is that while it is important to demonstrate your disapproval in order to discipline the child and show the child right and wrong, it is equally as important to at the same time draw the child in simultaneously. And that is one of the lessons in walking the balanced walk. That we're doing that all the time with each other, with the earth, with the world, not to, and in the Kabbalah around the Sephirot, the 10 spirals of divine manifestation, called the Sphirot, you have the right side and the left side always working and balancing with each other. The right side is called the spilling side. You know, it's like, oh, I love you, I want you, I love you, I want to come and see you, I want to see you all day and all night. And the left side is the pouring side. You know, there's a difference between spilling and pouring. I can demonstrate that on the set if you would like. Right? So pouring has no boundary, and it goes all over, and it can be destructive. It can, you get arrested for stalking someone if you behave that way. And pouring is you take all that love that's pouring out, or that wanting to give to the whole world, or whatever it might be, and you constrict it a little bit so that's not going to be drowning and overwhelming the other. So always checking with yourself: am I pouring or am I spilling?
Right.
You know.
So more mindful as opposed to just accidental.
Exactly. So so on the one hand, it's fine to go with the flow and go with your feelings as long as you're responsible. You know, that's the problem with how people react in terms of society. For example, the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, which I missed because I was busy, studying Torah, being very holy. By the time I came out of that, and I was looking for it, and they were all gone. Everybody went home. The revolution was over. I was the only guy standing there. Hello, anybody here?
But they've written books.
They've written books. I can read the books and fantasize what it would have been like to be there. So on the one hand, you have that sexual revolution. Everything went right, free for all. People had relations with anybody. Fluids were all over the place. And then all of a sudden, you have AIDS as a response. And then you have suddenly a more prudish. The same children of the sexual revolution today, most of them, have become very. They put on the fig leaves. Yeah. And severed themselves from that whole way of being in the world because they're reacting to one extreme by going to the other extreme. See, and so the Talmud teaches that either way is no good. Being too protective. It's like Maimonides puts it really well. He says, he writes, lest the person say, well, it's not good to overindulge recklessly in sex and to overindulge recklessly in food and drink. Therefore, I shall abstain from sex and abstain from food and drink and live a good, holy life. And he said, this is just as wrong as overindulgence. Because everything that we have, all the pleasures of life, food, drink, sex, pizza, potato knish, all of it is there for a purpose. We're not here to this isn't college, you're not going to get graded and have so much homework. We're here to live and enjoy as much as we can, and to hurt. We don't have to go looking for the hurt. And to deny ourselves stuff because we're afraid of it is the wrong reason. To deny yourself food and drink because you don't need it anymore, you're being nurtured by a spirit, is something different.
And this, for me, is immediately bringing up the Garden of Eden. I can't even say it. Garden of Eden. And the temptation. And there it was supposed to be, from the Christian perspective, abstinence. No touching of the apples. The apples were off limits. What's the Jewish take on that story?
All right, the Jewish take on the story, since it is a Jewish story originally, is that first of all, it was only one tree.
Okay.
This one tree, the tree of knowledge of good and not good, don't eat of that tree. That's number two. Number one, I like to go backwards. Number one, the Jewish take on it is that was all. It was a sting operation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like FBI.
Entrap. That soon.
That's where they get it from. The FBI studied the Bible, our Bible, and got the idea of entrapment. Because if the Garden of Paradise was such a perfect place, there wouldn't be that tree in the middle of the garden you can't eat from. Why is there then the but? As soon as you have a but, then you don't have the perfect life. So they start out in perfection, but instead of being a paradise, it's really a hell, because you have nothing to eat but fruit all day. There's nothing to do. There's no desire for each other. They're naked, but nothing is happening. There's no life, He doesn't know what this is hanging there, and because they never experienced their oppositeness, as man and woman. They never experience friction. They never experience distance from God, so they don't know what closeness to God is, even though they're right there. They never experience bad, so they don't know what good is. So they're hungry for getting something that'll wind them up and send them out. So the Creator sends the Nachash, the serpent, the snake. Nachash is Hebrew not only for snake, but it's also biblical Hebrew for trickster, to fool, to trick. The role of the snake was to trick them into getting themselves dirty so they can get out. And that's why when they're finally kicked out of the garden, Adam does not say to Eve, how could you do this to me? You ruined my whole life with it. It's so good in there, That's not what he says. He says the opposite. He says, I love you, babe. I want to give you a name, Darna, Chava, ki em kol chai. I hereby name you Chava, in English, Eve, which means mother of all life. Now, why did he name her that? They didn't have kids yet, because they didn't have sex yet. They didn't know anything. Because he felt alive. The gift of aliveness came by the woman daring to eat of the tree. She wasn't like, he was there with her, it says, but he didn't, just stand there. You can see this in malls. And the woman's busy, shopping, and the man's standing out there holding bags. And that's what it was like in the Garden of Eden. So the Garden of Eden in our tradition was simultaneously a place of perfection and a place of imperfection. Because the imperfection was necessary to get them out of there so they can get into the real world, where they can experience bad so they can know what good is, where they can experience distance from God so they can know what closeness to God is, so they can experience each other as different so they can come together as one.
There are an awful lot of people on the earth right now that wish they had never chosen to eat that apple.
That's true. There's a lot of people that just want to be in paradise, not knowing, not remembering what it was like before they came here. So people who are here for the first time, if they could remember what it was like before they came into the physical realm, what it was like in the Garden of Eden, they would remember that there was no aliveness because they didn't have the distance yet. I need to feel distance from my wife, from my God, from everything around me in order to feel a yearning to draw close to them. Look at any relationship. You can be as in love as you want. And if you're going to stay in the same room and lay in bed all day for a week straight, you're going to want your own space. You can go to the bathroom a lot, not because you have to pee, but because you just want to be alone for 10 minutes, and because you need that separation to come back to. It's like in the Jewish tradition, every time the woman in a relationship, the woman is menstruating, whether it's for 1 day or 5 days or 2 days, this is called Yomei Nidata. So she's given, in the Torah says, the woman is given 7 days, whether she's menstruating 1 or 2, and these are the days of her solitude. Meaning, and then it says that the man is not permitted to approach her sexually. It doesn't say anything about her approaching him sexually, but it says that he cannot approach her at all sexually, because this is her time, her space. And so whether it has to do with menstruation or not is not the issue as much as the importance that the ancients felt, and you find this in many traditions, the importance the ancients felt about man and woman in relationship. They need to have time, a sexual space, so that they can come together again,
and appreciate it more.
And appreciate it more, like the first night of their wedding.
This is also true in dance. You have, just a beautiful move, but that won't do it for 10 minutes. It's the contrast,
Good point.
All the different movements and possibilities with the body that make it interesting and enjoyable.
That's a very good analogy, because you're always, you're coming in, you're going out, and this.
I wanted to ask you also, part of it, for me, just got answered a little bit because I thought that the restrictions around menstruation had to do with an impurity.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that might be more Christian upbringing. And it ties in also to this otherness about the dark and the light and, rules that must be followed. And I don't really know how to put this into a question. It's more just an open topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, darkness in the Kabbalah is very sacred because darkness, the Kabbalah teaches, is light.
Okay.
But it is light subdued just enough so it doesn't swallow you.
Okay.
So you have the divine, overwhelming, wanting to eat you up, swallow parental light.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the choshech, which is the holding back light, the light that's subdued, and that's the darkness.
Okay.
So you can thrive better in the darkness while you're here than you can in the light. Because the darkness is the divine light, but it is subdued enough for us to live in it. So, and about purity and impurity, the problem with all that is that the Hebrew scriptures were translated by Christianity for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
First it was translated from the Greek. It was translated from Hebrew to Greek, mm-hmm. from Greek to Latin, from Latin to Flemish, from Flemish to English in the King James Bible. That became King James Bible. So that so much gets lost in the translation. So where it would say the earth being, it says man. Where it says you shall not sustain a sorcerer. They should go get a job like everybody else. You shouldn't be dependent on them and get into this cult-like thing. Mm-hmm. In their translation, it says you shall not suffer a witch to live.
Oh.
Which is not what it says in the Hebrew. It says Machashefa lo techayeh, which means a magician or a sorcerer you shall not sustain. Don't fall into the habit of giving them income all the time, mm-hmm. because that needs to be free. Okay. All that kind of stuff is free. You cannot charge for that. And we always had sorcery in our tradition. The rabbis were full of sorcery. They were teachings about sorcery throughout the Jewish tradition. And about the purity, impurity about menstruation, for example, the same word is used for a man or a woman who just did the most wonderful thing in the world, like burying the dead, taking care of the dead. They were called tameh, which is translated as impure, unclean, mm-hmm. But it's such an out of context translation, because the word connotes having confronted the drama of divine presence. And the opposite, clean, in the Hebrew is tahor. Tahor means coming back to the ordinary. Okay. See? So if a woman gave birth, for example, or she was menstruating, in that moment she experiences the drama of Creator touching creation. So she was not allowed to go to the temple, because that was disrespectful to the experience. It's like going to a restaurant with your sandwich. She's with the divine mm-hmm. in that moment because she's bleeding, and there's birth happening, or potential for birth, or whatever, however you want to look at it. And so in that moment, or the man or woman burying the dead, in that moment they are in touch with the drama of Creator and creation coming together, death, soul leaving. So they needed to be in that state and sit with it for 7 days. And then after the 7 days, they went through a ritual of coming back to seeing God in the ordinary. So you can see God in the drama of life, like bleeding, death, birth, or you can, and then that's called tameh, which they translate unclean, mm-hmm. because in a sense it means ritually disqualified from coming to the temple of the time, to the altar. Mm-hmm. That would be sacrilegious, because you are in that moment the altar.
Right.
How dare you go to the temple? Whether you're a man or a woman. If a man had an issue too, it says a man has blood coming out of his genitalia. It's like a very dramatic, vivid life-death thing for a man. Mm-hmm. And he also had to wait 7 days, and so on and so forth. So everybody, woman giving birth, she couldn't go to the temple for longer than any other state. It was like 80 days. She had to stay several months. She had to not go to the temple because she had to really be with what happened.
In the drama.
Yeah. And maybe that prevented postpartum blues. You know, people step out of birth so fast. Mm-hmm. And the postpartum blues can be explained in that way, in the sense that in the moment of birth, the divine is right there. Right there. And then slowly it goes back to the ordinary. And so the woman feels the separation and needs to get back. So she went through a ritual, which a lot of women still do. She goes into the water, into the mikvah, which is a river, a lake, and because water is the mother of life. And she comes back up again, having immersed herself in new beginnings, in new ways of being with what happened. So it depends if you read it in the context of the whole theology and the ideology that gave birth to these scriptures, in the original language, or not. It's like trying to tell a Yiddish joke in French. You know, nobody will get it.
No. It makes me think, first of all, you should go to Congress and see if you can get women to have like 6 months off paid after birth.
Exactly.
Using the spiritual.
Yeah.
This can't be ignored. You've got to pay attention. But also I think it helps women understand a little bit better why when they go back and the baby's 2 or 6 weeks old, why it's so heart-wrenching.
Yes.
And maybe they can give themselves more time after work to sit with their experience.
I agree.
And I wanted to ask you about sitting with experiences. You do certain meditations yourself, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
No, I can't.
Okay.
Just kidding.
Well, can you do it and we'll watch?
Okay, I'm going to levitate.
Oh, good.
Please turn the cameras off. I need concentration. There are various meditations. The ones that I do mostly is meditation with a rock or with a tree, where I sit with the rock or lean against the tree and inhale and exhale, you know, because I got to live. And while I'm doing that, though I'm thinking that I'm inhaling, I'm being given the breath from the Creator that gives me life. And as I do that, I think about and feel and experience the tree and meditate on the fact that the tree, too, is being breathed into existence by Creator in the very moment that I am. Both I and the tree are the breath of the Creator. And when you meditate on that long enough, you begin to really become so enmeshed with the tree that the tree forgets what it is and you forget what you are. And you become breath, you become tree. And you begin to absorb and learn the wisdom of the tree. The Talmud teaches that Kol ilin masichin elu im elu, which means all the trees talk to one another. And if you learn to listen within, you can learn from some of the conversations about yourself. Trees are an image in so many different traditions. You know, I mean, I went to a Sundance, Lakota Sundance once, and they had the tree there. I said, "What's that?" They said, "Oh, the tree of life."
Really?
Really? That's really great. We have that too. We have an argument over who stole it from who. You know. And then there's the meditation of the 7 earth chambers.
What's that?
There are seven names of the earth in our tradition. Each of the names of the earth describe an attribute of consciousness that the earth has. And they're called the chambers because you go into each attribute one at a time, as if you're entering different caves within the earth, deeper and deeper and deeper. And in front of each chamber stands a spirit, and you have to know the name of the spirit. There's one that's called Shamriel, one is called Makom, one is called Satacha, one is called Satit, one is called Tat, one is called Makom. And then you address the spirit by its name. You invoke the spirit when you come to the chamber, and the spirit asks you give the spirit a gift before you enter the chamber. The gift you give the spirit at each chamber is whatever it is that the attribute of that chamber is about. For example, the 3rd chamber is called Harva. Harva literally means eruption, So you look inside of yourself, and the attribute of eruption is life. Because life comes from eruption. As you as a mother know that. Right? Oh, what the hell's happening? I can't take it. I don't want to see you again. Get away from me. No more kids. Right? The eruption. Now comes the one that introduces your program. It's the Heidi Show. And that begins your life. See, so the attribute of Harva, eruption, is life. New islands erupting out of the sea, volcanoes erupting, and new life comes. So when you come into the chamber of Harva, you look inside of yourself and you image what it is in you that is, boiling to the surface, waiting so eagerly to erupt into life, into new lifeness, your aliveness. And you give that to the spirit, Satitya. And then the spirit, then you go through the chamber. You go through all the chambers like that. Each one has the chamber of Eretz. Eretz literally means compressed. It's the compressed earth. So that attribute is wisdom, because wisdom is about pulling together the understanding, the experience, the visual, the hearing. You compress it all into one mold. And so you give the wisdom to the spirit, Makom, the spirit that guards that chamber. And then by the time you come out of all the chambers in the end, you come out with all those gifts more vivid to yourself. What is my wisdom? What is my wisdom? Not somebody else's that they say I am. What is my wisdom? What is my aliveness? What is my seed for new potential? Seed is the attribute of the chamber of Yabasha, which literally means seashore. Part of the sea. The seashore is a place of seed. Because in the creation story of our people, the water pulls back so that the dry land can come. Sort of like the Turtle Island story, turtle emerging. And then things begin to come out. It's the add water and stir business. So I do that meditation a lot. I find it very enriching for me, and in connecting with the earth, because it requires you to sit on the earth and speak to the earth. You speak some prayers to the earth first, and you do a chant, and it's all to the earth. You actually sit facing the earth, like it's a person standing in front of you. And then you go into the meditation, so that you get more in touch with the 7 gifts of the earth that are in each of us.
I really enjoy a lot of the imagery you've shared today, because it has to do with, interrelating with the earth, that it's a gift instead of trying to levitate our way out of it.
Right.
And
the
feeling that it's a curse. It's actually an amazing gift.
It's through the earth.
Yeah. I had one more big thing personally that I wanted to ask you about decision making. And I think we've touched a little bit about this with wisdom and pulling back. And we're faced with a lot of decisions every day. And some feel right to sit on, and some need action. And there are always distractions, so we can run away from almost all of them. And what does the Jewish tradition say about decision making?
It says decision making is when you stand at the crossroads. And we do that every moment almost. And is the most powerful, most sacred moment, because it is the time of the unfolding. Every time you make a decision in life about anything that really comes from you, not because of what's acceptable or suggested, it really comes from deep inside of you. Something unfolds in you. And it's called the Nekudat HaBchira, which means the invisible, infinite point of choice, and they give the example, parable, if I have time for the little parable, of a man walking. It's always about a man, because there were no women yet. Women came in the 70s and 80s. So
right on the scene.
So there's man's walking in the woods and it's nighttime. So he has a lot of problems. Number one, he's bumping into trees. He's tripping over logs. He's afraid of being attacked by predators, and he's afraid of being attacked by, robbers. and he doesn't know where he's going. Does not know where he's going. So in these damin lo ar, which means suddenly he finds a torch. It's a parable, so anything can happen.
Right.
He finds a torch and a credit card and somebody's contact lenses. So now he has light, and he can see where he's going within the close proximity of where he's walking. So he's no longer bumping into trees and hurting himself. He's no longer tripping over logs. He's no longer afraid of a wild animal coming near him, but he is afraid of being found out by human robbers. There's a lot over there. And he still doesn't know where he's going.
Okay.
He just has an idea of, not to bump into things. Then daylight comes. Now he has no fears at all. His torch is superfluous. He's not afraid of anything, and he's not bumping into anything, not tripping over anything, but he still doesn't know where he's going. He's still in the woods. Then he comes to Parashat Derachim, which means the splitting of the roads. He comes to a crossroad. Now, he comes to the place of having to make a decision based on absolutely nothing but what lies deep within himself. There's nothing to go on. No givens, no definitions, no geography, no books, no guides, no signs. He has to really call and invoke deep within the wisdom that is within him, the knowing that transcends the givens and definitions of life. At that moment, he knows exactly where he's going, even if he makes the wrong decision. So in other words, the teaching is that when you make a decision and you dare to make a move that comes from deep within your authentic self, even if it's the wrong decision, it's the right move. And it's like the teaching of Rabbi Hagi, who lived in the 1st century BC EFG. He taught, what does it say? He said, Amar Rahmana Avid, this is Aramaic. The compassionate one says, just do. And whatever it is you find to do, nichali, it's pleasing to me. It's not about whether it's the right thing in your life or the wrong thing in your life. You'll never know that till at the end of the days. What is important is make a move and make sure it comes from you.
And that gives you even more momentum. For instance, if you wake up in the morning and you decide, yes, I am going to the office today, it gives you more conviction to be there.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's right, because you feel empowered that way. I feel it's so important for people to regain their power. Power is not something that a rabbi has, or a minister, or a teacher of a workshop, seminar. We all walk around with the power. All the powers we need. The powers of the 4 winds, the Kabbalah teaches, are within every person. The power of clarity is in the south. The power of daring to go into the uncertain and the unknown is in the north. The power of balance in your life is in the east. And the power of your own self-knowledge and understanding is in the west. And the 4 winds that the Kabbalah teaches came together and created one wind, which is our spirit. So each of us walks around inspirited by the powers of the 4 winds. We just have to trust that we have it, and then to act on it.
And this sounds like something that you might be mentioning in your new book that you're writing. And I wanted to ask you the title of that.
The title of that new book is The Magic of the Ordinary. Recovering the shamanic in Judaism, the old Kabbalistic teachings. And it's a book I'm writing because I really want people to learn how to discover what they're looking for in books and seminars and everything, which is good, but how to discover the magic of life and the mystery of life in the ordinary, in changing a diaper and washing dishes.
I've seen some beautiful diapers.
Yes.
I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, you can change a diaper, but oh God, I wish my wife was here. I can't deal with this. Oh God, or you can do it as a shamanic ritual. Safety pin. Little bloodletting, and then it depends on how you see life. Is it an interruption, or is it part of the flow you think it is intruding on?
Yeah.
That's the big trick in life.
From one parent to the next, thank you very, very much for being here. Unfortunately, we're out of time because this has been a wonderful conversation for me.
Thank you.
And I wanted to give some information on how anyone can contact Gershon Winkler. He's available at Elk Mesa, ELKMESA, at walkingstick.org. And the snail mail address, Walking Stick Foundation, Post Office Box 1865, Cuba, New Mexico 87013, or you can call him at 505-289-3344. If anybody would like to do any videotaping at MCAT here at the station, 542-6228. If you'd like to contact anyone on the show, 829-9162. Next week we'll have Bob Giordano on, and please try to make it to his 29th of April event, Free Bikes for Missoula. And thank you so very much for being here. I'm glad you made this choice. And have a wonderful week.